pleasure to have my guy, Dr. Tom, in the building today. Dr. Tom, can you tell them like why you started or how you started and what you do now as a practitioner?
I started Rehab Science basically 6 years ago. I'm a physical therapist, background strength and conditioning specialist, and I've been a PT for 10 years, seeing all these common conditions. A lot of people have the same questions. Most humans get the same problems. I mean, it varies by sport and things like that, but basically started putting content out to just answer those questions and provide strategies people could implement to get rid of pain and hopefully reduce the chances that it comes back.
Fighters do suffer a lot from tendonitis, tendinopathy. They're punching a lot, especially boxers. We have Maureen here. She has a fight coming up, so she's suffering from tendonitis in the elbow.
Yep.
What can we do right now to alleviate the pain and also reduce the risk from it happening more?
Tendinopathies, if you look at the research on them, they really respond best to loading, basically strengthening. But when people have acute symptoms, there's stuff you can do to kind of get that knocked down first. What we'd do first is work on, use a tool like a ball. People can use a lacrosse ball, something like that at home. Tools like this where they can basically reduce tension and pain in the muscles that cause, because when you look at these kind of elbow pains, the tendons attach up here. So these muscles here on the top side of the forearm, so they're the muscles that lift your wrist and lift your fingers, your extensors. They come up and attach on the outside of the wrist. A lot of times,
feel that.
Totally. A lot of people will hear like tennis elbow, right? You don't have to be playing tennis. A lot of times it's other sports. And then on the inside of the elbow, on the other side is where the flexors of the wrist and fingers attach. So they come up and attach right there on the medial epicondyle.
Sure.
It's the tendon that hurts people, not really the muscles, but if we can release those muscles, often it kind of takes stress off the tendon, and that's a great way to start getting rid of acute symptoms. That, and then isometric contractions. A lot of people have heard of isometrics, like for different tendon issues. There's a lot of research for different things like the patellar tendon, the Achilles tendon. You can do that in these tendons too, where basically you're holding a contraction. It's a pretty high force contraction, like 70% of your maximum.
Okay.
And you hold it for basically 30 to 45 seconds. But I can show you, let's look at the soft tissue stuff first. So for both kind of tennis elbow, lateral epicondylitis, golfer's elbow, medial epicondylitis, if you've got pain on either side, you're basically going to work the forearm muscles. The muscle mass is all there. You have tendons that attach down at the wrist and hand, and then again the ones up at the elbow. So basically, if Maureen's got the pain on the inside of her elbow, she's going to take a tool and basically, one I like to do is just kind of put pressure over the wrist and finger flexors right here and just apply pressure, just kind of work through. You don't really want to go on the tendon too much, sometimes that flares people up, but kind of go up to that point where you feel it and then just kind of work through that whole region. If you feel any tender spots, then you just pause. You can even get on there, when you find a spot that hurts, kind of go through active mobility.
Okay.
Can you load that mobility too?
Totally, yes, yep, you could load it right there. Yeah, I mean this, of course, like if you do it here, it's going to load the muscles you're not working,
Gotcha.
but you can, you can just do it active or load it a little bit. You can even put pressure down over the top. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because obviously if you push hard enough in anything, it's going to be tender.
Yeah.
But if you get anything that reproduces familiar symptoms or radiates like that, then those are kind of what you're looking for.
You want to stay there.
You kind of hold on it. Yeah, so I usually tell people like 10 to 20 seconds, kind of do some deep breaths, try to get it to release. So then the other thing you can do is you could take like whatever tool people have got, sometimes a ball works well, but you could take it and like literally push into your area and be more specific. I mean, you can even use your thumb, right? You can just get in there and dig with your thumb.
Right here.
Yeah, exactly. Try that guy. So you're just getting in there and kind of trying to release it and work it.
Oh, here, right here, yeah.
You kind of want to have your hand off the edge, and then you can kind of really move through that range of motion and not be blocked.
Oh, yeah, right here.
This is wrist and finger flexors, right? So if you flip over, then you would be working extensor. So you could push in with the ball up there. Those are going to come up and attach on the lateral epicondyle, so you could work through that whole region. Or you could take like the roller deal, right, and put your arm top side down and kind of push through it and roll through there. So if you've got acute pain, I would start with this stuff. Soft tissue mobilizations. Yeah. The other thing is because again it's a tendon, and really if you look at the research on tendons, loading them helps the most. So the thing you would do to do isometrics is get like a kettlebell or a dumbbell. This is probably, for most people, it's better to start down lighter so you don't flare yourself up. But basically what you're gonna do, so say you're working the inside one.
We don't got no lighter than that, bro.
What is this?
Sorry, Doc, that's 15.
No,
15, okay,
right,
that's okay.
yeah.
You want 70% of your maximum,
Gotcha.
so that's probably good. If it's too light, it won't do anything. For this one, palm up is gonna work the inside of the elbow, and all you're gonna do is hold it just like you are, wrist in neutral, and you hold it there for 30 to 45 seconds, and you do 4 to 5 reps of that every day. Isometrics have some of the best research for tendons, and like I said, most of it's in the patellar tendon, the Achilles tendon, but it really tends to work lots of other
So what
places.
am I going to feel as I'm holding this?
You
Should I
might feel your pain.
tightness?
Yeah.
Okay.
Even if you felt your tendon discomfort, that's
Yes.
kind of good.
Okay, so that's the thing. Like I
Yeah.
would normally stop if I
Yes.
felt pain. But so
No,
don't.
with tendons, you want to be, if you're in that like kind of mild discomfort, it's actually usually the right amount of stress. If you feel no discomfort, then it's not enough load. And if you go like say up to 5, above 5 out of 10, then you're more likely to flare it up. So you're trying to find the sweet spot of mild discomfort.
The other question I have is a grip. Am I gripping hard? Am I just gripping just normal?
That's something that I would say for people to play with, because especially for this one, like play with, if you're, say you're holding a 15 pound, because you don't feel it that much, but you can squeeze a little harder and reproduce it, then that's what you want.
Okay.
But still staying in that 3 to 4 out of 10. 30 to 45 second hold, 4 to 5 reps every day. If the next day your baseline symptoms are worse, then it was too much load. So that's kind of, you look at it on a 24-hour clock. That's how tendons are looked at now. So the other side, if you're doing lateral elbow, then you just hold it the exact opposite and you do isometrics like that. So you're just gonna hang out there.
This is harder.
It's hard, yeah.
This is like,
so
woo.
your wrist flexors are twice as strong as your extensors. Most people will probably have to drop the weight. And this is just when you're acute. If you're just hanging out and it's hurting all the time, then you start with isometrics. As soon as you can get past isometrics, then you start going through heavy, slow contractions. And sometimes people can't do the concentric part. So like, say you're looking at medial epicondylitis, right? Like the goal eventually is to be doing like full range wrist flexor curls. But sometimes when people in their tendons flared up, they won't be able to do the concentric, the way up where the muscle's shortening and contracting. You might take like this guy and you take your other arm and pass it there. So you start up here and then you just do the eccentric, right? There's a lot of research for eccentrics. And then you let go, you set reset, hold it, and then go back down. In the research for tendons, they'll have people do 3 sets of 15 reps, every day or every other. And it's crazy. Tendons, it seems counterintuitive that when you put stress on them, they get better, but they really do when you put load on them.
How many reps of this should I do?
Usually for that, if you're sitting doing the curls, you do 3 sets of 15 every day or every other.
Okay.
If it flares up, then you would just take a day off.
Okay.
And then the same for the extensors, but you just have to drop the weight, like do a 10 pounder and do full range. And then the other thing for flexor is it's your grip muscles. So anything you can do for grip strengthening. The other thing to think about, besides your wrist flexors and extensors, on the inside here you have a muscle called pronator teres that turns your forearm over, it pronates. That attaches right there. And on the outside you have supinator, which turns you over this way.
Yeah.
With a weighted bar, you can basically find the right lever arm, but basically grab that guy and then you'll go both ways. So if I go this way, the bar wants to twist me into pronation. So my supinator has to eccentrically control that. And then supinator contracts concentrically to bring it back up. And then when I go the other way, right, the bar is gonna wanna fall. My pronator teres has to slow that down, and then pronator will bring it back up. So you just go both directions and you just find like, right now I probably could make this longer. It's a little too easy for where I'm at right now, but you just basically are going each direction. So those are the big ones I'd say. Like if you're in acute pain, you do the soft tissue mobilizations and the isometrics. As it starts to calm down, you could do the eccentrics if you need to. Really, you're going for full range extensor curls, flexor curls, pronator, supinator.
As far as frequency
Yeah.
and volume in general, what are we looking at?
In the beginning, when you're acute, like when you're doing the soft tissue mobilizations and the isometrics, those are every day. And the isometrics are usually, like I said, 30 to 45 second hold, 4 to 5 reps, and like a 30-second to minute rest in between every day, unless you flare up. Like if the next day you are flared up, then you obviously take a day off. Once you get into the like full range contractions, all that stuff, then you're usually doing 3 sets of like kind of reps to fatigue, but in the research they do 3 sets of 15. Trying to find the load that again is like mild discomfort and that you basically kind of get tired in that like 8 to 15 repetition range or something like that.
What about high rep sets, like 50 to 100 reps?
The thing you have to be tricky or careful with tendons is that they usually get flared up because of high volume stuff.
Really?
The research has basically said tendons do best with heavy, slow, which means fewer contractions. On patellar tendon, they just researched this, 70% of maximum voluntary isometric contraction was the sweet spot.
Blood flow restriction.
I like blood flow restriction. More and more research for it, especially like if you get out, like if you have an arm issue that's kind of farther out from where the cuff is. Like tennis elbow actually responds, there's blood flow restriction studies for tennis and golfer's elbow. So you put that on and do these, that's where you get like lower weight and doing the higher contraction stuff.
All right, there it is. So we have the frequency, we have the volume. You saw some of the things you could do from a soft tissue standpoint, from an exercise standpoint. Dr. Tom Walters, by the way. And I love the book. Make sure you guys go check it out. Also, make sure you check out the podcast. We're gonna be doing that right now. So go to the podcast channel and check that out too. Tell them where they can find you at other than.
It's Rehab Science everywhere, mainly Instagram and YouTube, rehabscience.com, and the book's everywhere, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all that stuff. So.
And I highly recommend it. Go check it out. See you guys next time. Peace.